Hey everybody, I'm Associate Professor of Marketing and Director of the WWU MBA Program, Dr. Mark Staten. Before we continue, I'd like to acknowledge that Western Washington University's main campus is situated on the ancestral homelands of the Coast Salish peoples who have lived in the Salish Sea Basin all throughout the San Juan Islands and the North Cascades watersheds from time immemorial. We express our deepest respect and gratitude to our Indigenous neighbors for their enduring care and protection of our shared lands and waterways. So everybody, welcome. The WWU MBA Program and the Western Washington University Alumni Association are excited to welcome you to today's WWU One-Day MBA webinar, Why Get an MBA, Part 1. Our speakers today are multiple members of the MBA team here at Western, including from the Management Department, Shantala Samant, from the Economics Department, Matt Roloffs, from the Accounting Department, Barak Dolar, from the MIS Department, Jason Lee, from the Finance Department, Eric Worley, from the Marketing Department, me, from our capstone class, Eric Mayer, from our Career Services team, Carmel Emery, and to talk about the admissions process, our Associate Director, Katie Johnson. She's also an MBA alum, so she's doing double duty tonight. A little housekeeping before we dive in. Some of you have already submitted questions with your registration, and we really appreciate those. If you haven't submitted a question already, that's fine. During the webinar, please use the Zoom Q&A feature, which should be at the bottom, the bottom middle of your screen, to send us any questions that may come to mind. We will be responding to questions during the Q&A section at the end of the presentation, and we will do our best to answer as many as we are able to during our time today. Finally, we recommend that you use the speaker view as part of the Zoom. And to get started, I'd like to hand it off to our first guest, Dr. Shantala Samant from our Management Department.
Thank you, Mark, for a good introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Shantala Samant. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm an associate professor with the Management Department here at the College of Business and Economics at WWU. I wanted to share with y'all just a few slides, basically talking about why you should get an MBA and why the areas that I focus on, management and strategy in particular, are really critical. So I'll just share my screen here so I can show you this slide. I think this is my first slide, and I often show this to students in class. We all sort of start off with our functional expertise or our areas of specialization, right? It could be accounting, it could be finance, it could be marketing, could be operations, could be engineering, could be production, could be anything outside of the business fields as well. But the majority of our initial jobs, so to speak, would comprise of the functional area, right? The functional activities that we spend a lot of time, most of the time in the day, working on the tasks and the projects and the activities that pertain to our area of expertise, our specialization, which is a functional area. And so the first job that we might encounter, maybe, right out of college, would require us to spend a lot of time working on these functional areas. But there might be a little bit of a proportion of that time working on management and strategy. But as we sort of move up that ladder, so to speak, through the first promotion, maybe we climb up to be a functional area manager. Maybe we go up to upper management, and finally, hopefully, we end up as a CEO or a leader of the organization, which is what I hope all our students end up doing. The portion of the time and energies that we spend in managing and strategizing become a lot more important. And so I think from that perspective, thinking about management, thinking about strategy, thinking about the activities of a business or an organization with a lot of intentionality becomes very important. And so that's what my focus is on management and strategy, and hopefully you can take that back through your MBA program. Is learn how to think like a CEO or become a CEO, perhaps. And so hopefully the things that you learn will help you through this career progression as you move through in the future. And then how exactly we do that, I'll briefly talk about what exactly we do in strategy and in management. Is again, we start with a functional perspective, right? So you might be taking classes in accounting or econ or finance or all these different areas, which are all extremely important to build a foundation of learning. But these functional areas sometimes, because of the specialization and the expertise, focusing only on a functional area might sometimes compromise on the big picture. Like the big picture of a firm or an organization requires us to combine all these different fields of knowledge, to build on everything that we study across all the other disciplines, across all the other functional areas, and think again like a general manager who might be responsible for the entire firm. And so that's what hopefully we'll learn through management and strategy, is how do we think about the firm overall, the firm as a whole, which requires problem solving, requires strategic thinking, requires analysis. It does require an expertise of your functional areas, which my colleagues will be talking about in just a little bit. But it also requires some of these additional tools and concepts that we have right here. This is just a short list of the tools and concepts that we use in strategy that hopefully you'll come across and become familiar with as you take classes on management and strategy. So I hope you're excited to get an MBA and to learn how to think like a general manager and hopefully become a CEO in the future. Thank you.
Chantal, that was great. Thank you so much. Our next guest, I'm feeling a little bit like Jay Leno or something, but our next guest is from the economics department, Dr. Matt Roloffs. Take it away, Matt.
Great. Thank you, Mark. Hello, everyone. I see I've been upgraded. Zoom's telling me I'm Mark Staten. So I'm not sure what happened there, but I'll take it.
That was my fault. I sent you the wrong way.
Oh, you changed my name now. All right.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, everyone. My name is Matt Roloffs. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm a professor and chair of the economics department at Western, and excited to talk with you for my 5 allotted minutes about the importance of economics when it comes to your pursuit of an MBA degree. So I often describe economics when I start my courses. I teach a lot of micro economic theory, a little bit of game theory and strategy, and then I have colleagues who specialize on the macro side, and I'll talk about each of those things as we go along. But I often describe the study of economics as the study of choice or decision making. And the textbooks have longer definitions about the allocation of scarce resources and that kind of thing. But economics is really about decision making. And of course, as Chantal mentioned, there are loads and loads of different kinds of decisions that occur at all different levels in the firm and in organizations. And most, maybe all of those decisions have an economic component to them. So what we work for in the economics that's included in the MBA program is to make sure that you get a really solid foundation in both micro economics and macroeconomics. There's an old joke that goes something like this, that microeconomists are wrong about small ideas and macroeconomists are wrong about ideas in general. And there's a nugget of important information in there, which is that microeconomics is about, as the word micro, the prefix micro would suggest, is about sort of small things, small parts of the economy. So microeconomics is the study of individual decision makers, whether those are individual people, households, firms, and the kinds of decisions that they make day in and day out in running their lives and running their businesses or their nonprofits or whatever. So Microeconomic theory studies price formation, how are prices determined in a market environment. It looks at and studies production decisions, the cost implications of those production decisions for firms. A fair amount of the microeconomics course is aimed at studying different kinds of markets, different market structures. So we look at markets that are really competitive, as well as markets that are less competitive for a number of possible reasons. We spend a fair amount of time talking about why markets are successful or how they can be successful, and then equal amount of time discussing how markets can fail and what happens when they do, what kinds of interventions might be appropriate to try and correct those kind of market failures. So that's the micro side. On the macro side, right, big picture stuff, economy-wide thinking, and there the focus is on sort of the movement of big economy-wide variables. So overall price levels, right? We've had a pretty unfortunate run of fairly high inflation now for a couple of years, and that's a very macroeconomic kind of concept. Studying employment, overall employment, unemployment in the labor market as a macro idea, and then lots of policy kinds of questions. What can the government do? What can government agencies do to try and manage the economy, to try and how do we deal with inflation? Is there something that can be done? Maybe. And what do we do if we have the opposite problem? If we have really stable prices, but we have high unemployment, what can happen in those circumstances? So the study of those two parts of economic theory give the MBA student a really solid, I think, foundation. And I think of a lot of what we do in the economics department as providing sort of the jumping off point for a lot of the other things that happen in those functional areas. So if you think maybe about the relationship in the sciences between, say, physics and engineering. In order to be a good engineer and build a bridge that doesn't collapse, you need to know a lot of physics, and then you need the engineering knowledge on top of that. I think it's a similar sort of thing here with an MBA, that in order to make all those good kind of firm-wide decisions that Shantala was talking about, you need to have a good foundation in economics, along with accounting and finance and all those things. I hope you have a great rest of your evening, and I'm happy to be here.
Thanks, Matt. Really appreciate you taking the time to talk about economics. Our next guest will be from the accounting department, and that is Professor Barak Dolar. Take it away, Barak.
Hi, yeah, my name is Barak Dolar. I have been teaching in the MBA program for several years, and I teach all of our accounting classes in the MBA program. There are two of them. There's financial accounting, and then there is managerial accounting. Let me just start by giving you a little bit of information about accounting, what we do in accounting. So essentially, accounting is a measurement system. It captures data, it organizes the data, turns it into information, and then communicates that information to decision makers all around the company. Accountants are not necessarily the top decision makers. They could be, but not all the time. But virtually all top level and middle level decision makers, they get their information from in an organized way from the accounting department. They call accounting the language of business, so that's one of the reasons why students should have at least some understanding of accounting, so that they can understand commonly used business terms, which, like I said, typically originated in accounting. And then accounting also provides a framework, a formal framework to understand typically quantitative, internal and external business transactions. There are so many different types of business transactions, and the number of business transactions in a typical company is quite large. So you need a formal template to make sense of all those variety and large number of transactions. So this is what we try to accomplish in the accounting field. So just to give you some idea about those two particular courses taught in the MBA program, starting with financial accounting. So financial accounting teaches students first to analyze quantitative business transactions using some formal accounting tools. That is, you might have heard about, debits and credits, T accounts, those kind of things. So we covered those tools within the first weeks of the course. And then after learning about those fundamentals, we start focusing on preparing and more importantly, understanding financial statements. And we focus on two financial statements, the income statement, which shows a company's sales and ultimately net income. So it's about profitability in the end. And then the balance sheet, which gives an extensive picture of the company at a given point in time. What sort of assets does the company own? How they finance those assets? Did they use debt or capital or stockholders' equity? So after understanding the workings of financial statements, we also do some basic level ratio analysis, which covers the liquidity of the company, how they utilize their assets, how profitable they are, and a number of other important financial status picture of the company. So this is what we do in a nutshell in financial accounting. In managerial accounting, it's pretty much all about cost management. Yeah, we don't really focus on the revenue side of things in managerial accounting, but spend more than 90% of the time talking about cost, and in particular, unit costs. So just imagine a large business, a production business that produces hundreds of different products. The most challenging question on the cost side is, what is the unit cost of all those hundreds of different products? It's a very important question, and the answer to the question is not very simple, but ultimately, at the very least, price is a function of cost. So if you don't know your cost, you're not going to be able to price the product properly, which means you'll be in a disadvantageous position relative to your competitors. And other than that, we calculate conduct break-even analyses, which tells you how many units you need to produce to break even, or you most likely have a target profit, how many units you have to produce to reach that target profit. When is the right time to maybe exit a product line? Because, if they're not making you money, certain products, you need to exit those products. But how do you know when? Undertaking new investments, choosing among different types of investments. That's also what we cover in managerial accounting. Probably the last important thing I can think of is insourcing versus outsourcing. So when is it proper to actually make things in-house or outsource them? So yeah, very important, typical business decisions that all companies have to make. And we look at them in managerial accounting using some formal templates and tried and true methods. So yeah, that's all I have. I don't want to exceed my given time, but yeah, we'll be happy to answer any questions in the future.
I'm not surprised that our accountant was right on time. He got his 5 minutes and he was right there. And
that's how we try to
for
operate.
every second that was available to him. Good job. So
you.
our next guest will be from the MIS department, or Decision Science department, our MIS professor, Professor Jason Lee. Take it away, Jason.
Thanks, Mark. So like Marcus mentioned, in our college, actually, we have a Department of Decision Sciences. So the professors in our house will include professors from the information system field and also people from the operations research or operations management field. And the courses I'll be teaching in the MBA program is we call them the information systems or management information system course. And actually, in addition to that, we have another course called operations management, which I don't think I'm qualified to talk about here, but it's mainly focused on how to manage the different operations in business using mathematics and scientific methods. So, but here I would just focus on talking about the MIS course. So when we talk about management information system or information system in the context of business, people were sometimes ask what's the difference between IT and IS. So IT, of course, we know it's information technology. IS is information systems. Of course, these two are very highly related to each other. But what's the difference? I think to put this in the compare this two, I believe the main difference is that IS is more than the technology, the information technology itself, but it's also about the information, or sometimes we call them data, and also the people who are involved. So information technology could be just the technology itself, but when we talk about information technology in the context of business, we need to think about the information and also the people as well, and how they can work together as a system, right? So one of the main things that we talk about in this course is I think this everlasting topic, does IT matter? Right. So I think 20 years, 30 years ago, some professor from Harvard talked about IT doesn't matter because IT can be considered as ubiquitous resources such as electricity and water. Right. So if everything can have access to IT, how can they make this unique? Right. So actually, we do talk about why IT matter and how we can make IT matter in terms of how we can use IT and information system to provide sustainable competitive advantages to different companies, right? And also, I think what makes this field so exciting is IT is an ever-changing field. Every year, every month, we may see some new technology coming up that could bring some disruptive changes to the business. For example, what we've been talking about in recent months about ChatGPT, right? So there are a lot of different topics we're going to cover in this course, including things like Internet of Things, cloud computing, open source software. Of course, my favorite topics will be, big data and artificial intelligence, machine learning. There are different, benefits and also risks or challenges that bring to this business as well with this different information technology, right? So there are a lot of benefits, different opportunities, but they also bring some issues such as privacy and security. So how are you going to handle all these things? So this will be the topic that we're going to cover in this course. So I strongly believe that in this information age, information system is a very important subject that every manager need to have a good understanding of. And topics related to especially AI and machine learning and data analytics, business analytics in general will be very important of great values. That's all I want to share.
Thanks, Jason. That was great. Our next speaker will be from the finance group, and that is Professor Eric Worley. Take it away, Eric.
Thanks. Hello, everyone. My name is Eric, and I'm going to have 5 minutes to share with you what you will learn in finance. And so I've got 3 slides, and the first one is an overview, and essentially, overall, big picture, you're going to learn tools and techniques to make better decisions. And those decisions might be decisions that affect the value of a business enterprise, therefore the value to its stakeholders, which includes folks like stockholders, employees, suppliers, and decisions that might improve your own financial well-being. And in sort of the second course, the second chapter of your training, you'll apply and extend those tools to practice making decisions in real world settings. So this includes, in the second course, extensive use of case analyses, where you confront relatively uncertain real world situations. And then you'll also, in the capstone case course taught by Lucas and Eric, you'll apply a lot of these tools and decision-making techniques in a real world setting, consulting a business, a local business. And so that's the big picture. The first course, this is sort of like a heavy appetizers. It's this is MBA 505 Business Finance, and the main focus is learning the tools that you're going to apply in across the board. So time value of money tools. How do you value uncertain and distant cash flows? How do you value streams of cash flows like annuities that have a finite life, or perpetuity that is infinitely lived? And these tools combined are necessary in order to understand the fundamental value of bonds and stocks and projects. Does it make financial sense to launch a new product? Are you likely to get a green light on a product idea that you have? It has to pass the financial gatekeepers. So these tools also allow you to value entire businesses. And also along the way, one case I use in this first chapter here is a mortgage refinance case. So you can understand how you might use these tools given, an expected time horizon in a home. Does it make sense to refinance the house? Do the upfront costs, are they outweighed by the future benefits given, the money I can earn, the interest rate I can earn on my money? And you will also estimate cash flows. You'll use, importantly, financial accounting information from Barack's class and use that in order to estimate free cash flows and understand if a decision has a value improving effect. And also along the way, learn the relationship between risk and return, both for individual investments like stocks and bonds, and how these various investments interact in a portfolio. In the second course, this is what every general manager should know about finance. And you are going to take those techniques and tools that you learned in 505 and apply them in these uncertain, sort of poorly, is poorly shaped. You have to apply a framework and make a decision using the tools that you've learned. And essentially, the idea is to instill a financial way of thinking. The types of questions that are addressed in this class include, how should a firm manage growth? How can it, you have to understand the interaction between operating, strategic, and financial decisions, and in order to ensure success, keeping all those factors in mind. How do financial leverage, the use of debt, and dividend policy affect firm value and the value for the owners? Should, mergers and acquisitions, should a firm acquire another firm, and at what price? What's a fair price? Should a firm use a lot of leverage? Should they engage in a leverage buyout? And how much debt is sensible in an acquisition? So these are the kinds of questions that you'll address. And by the time you graduate, you'll know how to think and act like a financial manager. And this will help you improve the efficacy in your working roles, right? Either as a manager or an employee to understand the operations of your firm, a competitor or a consultant or an investor. So I think that's my time. Back to you, Mark.
Great. Thanks, Eric. That was excellent. So now I'm going to take off my MBA director hat, and I'm going to put on my marketing professor hat. So the MBA program currently has two marketing classes, marketing management and then marketing strategy. I've taught both classes, but currently I teach the marketing strategy class, which is the second one. And one of my excellent colleagues, Professor Tejveer Sekhan, he teaches the marketing management class. So what do you learn in these classes? So first, for marketing management, It's this excellent overview of sort of the tactical decisions that go into marketing. And if you know anyone who has an MBA or you've watched a very specific episode of Mad Men, you'll know that marketing management is really about the 4 Ps. The 4 Ps. People have been talking about the 4 Ps of marketing for like 60 years. But the 4 Ps are product, what you sell, price, how much you charge, placement, where or how you sell it, and promotion, how you let people know what you sell exists. So, so a decision about product might be like, should we have an MBA program that is, for working professionals? The price would be how much you charge for it, obviously. The placement would be, where do you put it? We saw that there was a opportunity in Everett, and so we created a program there. And then promotion, how do you let people know what you sell exists? You could do things like, I don't know, a webinar on Wednesday night as an example of promotion to let what you know exists. So in marketing management, you'll also cover topics like marketing research, qualitative, quantitative research. You'll also go into sort of the consumer behavior, why we buy the things that we buy. And you'll do this in a really lively mix of readings, lectures, and case studies. So in my class, marketing strategy, that's the second one that you take. And we think about it, we think about marketing, well, more strategically. And we focus on 3 main concepts. So first, segmentation, how you break up the total market into more specific groups. Targeting, after you've segmented the market, you decide which group or groups your firm should focus on serving. And then positioning, how do you design an offering for those groups that is unique within your competitive space? We talk about things like value proposition or unique selling proposition. Like, what is the thing that you're different than everyone else? That sort of goes into your positioning. So in marketing strategy, we also do readings. We also, we do a lot of lecture. We also do case studies, but it also includes a simulation where you play the role of a CEO for some tech company. And you get to make quarterly decisions and see how those quarterly decisions impact market share, total revenue, total profit, and customer satisfaction. When I present this, students are usually pretty anxious. I usually, it's over the course of 13 quarters. And if you're really bad, you actually get fired. So that makes people get really anxious. But the nice thing is I give people multiple opportunities to do this. And then they sort of learn, how to make sort of the right decisions and sort of go from there. And so it not only is it sort of something that like they start kind of anxious about, but by the end, they're actually saying, hey, Mark, can you keep this open so I can keep doing this? Because I'm actually finding this really fun. Think about this. They're doing extra homework because they think it's fun. So there are a couple of reasons why marketing is such a fascinating topic to study within your MBA. I mean, I'll never forget, I got my MBA, and in my marketing management class, the professor referred to it as applied social science, much like Matt was talking about in sort of the sort of physics to engineering. Marketing sort of takes in economics, psychology, sociology, anthropology, history, all the different sort of social sciences come into marketing, and that makes it pretty interesting. But another reason why is that you're constantly surrounded by marketing. And so, and after taking marketing classes, you'll understand what everyone is doing better. I often ask students to reverse engineer the positioning statements of something after they've seen the advertisement. And then they're like, they get the hang of that. Second, no matter where you work, there's going to be a marketing component. Taking these classes will help you work with them better. And finally, everything you learn in marketing are things that you can apply to yourself. I like to say that positioning is sort of the art and science of figuring out what you or your firm do better than anyone else, and figuring out who would be most interested in sort of in your or your firm's unique abilities. You can do that for selling mousetraps, or you can do that for, if you want to get a better job. So that's the stuff that we do in marketing. I now realize that I'm the guy that actually took an extra minute, so I apologize for that. I'm looking for Eric Mayer from our capstone, and he does not appear. I think something came up, so we're gonna do a bit of a variable, and I'm gonna hand it off to Carmel Emery, who's going to talk about what she does in terms of career services for our students. Take it away, Carmel.
Thanks, Mark. So really the goal of my role in terms of career services is to help our students gain skills to enter and succeed in the job market. And I do that through a number of ways with our team. So that's focusing on their career readiness skills, helping them secure a successful internship experience, developing their personal and professional skills, and then ultimately, which I know a lot of higher education programs and graduate programs, is to secure employment opportunities. So to accomplish those goals, I work with students in numerous ways. First is one-on-one sessions. So when they first enter the program and throughout their entire length of the program, I'll meet with them on a one-on-one basis to develop their professional career goals and set a plan for how to do that. We also focus on occupational research if they are unsure of what they want to do for their career path, review an application documents such as resumes, cover letters, and their LinkedIn profiles, practicing our interviewing skills with mock interview sessions, and finding successful internship and employment opportunities. I also host numerous workshops throughout the term, anywhere from 3 to 5 events a month. Some of our recent workshops have been the basics of career readiness, where we focus on resumes, cover letters, networking skills, a LinkedIn profile branding workshop, applicant tracking systems, where we bring in HR professionals that tell our students exactly what larger corporations are expecting to see for applicants, career fair prep workshops, salary negotiation, and overcoming performance anxiety with our own personal MBA speech coach. I also help our students navigate networking opportunities, which I know can be sort of stressful for some students. So taking them to professional association events like the Bellingham Chamber of Commerce or the Whatcom Women in Business Association, finding employer meet and greets, and of course, alumni events. And then I also help connect them with employers such as company site or industrial visits, attending career fairs, meet the employer events, and connecting them with our alumni and our extended network. We've had numerous success stories with our MBA students, ranging from employment opportunities that are senior financial analysts at T-Mobile. We have multiple bank managers and mortgage loan officers, marketing managers, and senior economic analysts for companies in the area. We also work a lot with entrepreneurs. So those are students who want to start their own company after completing the program, and students that also will be entering into family businesses. I also work a lot with the Small Business Development Center to pair our students up with local businesses in the area to help them achieve their business objectives. Thanks, Mark.
Great. Thanks, Carmel. That was great. And now to sort of help wrap things up, we're going to talk with our Associate Director, Katie Johnson, and she's also going to take cover a little bit of what goes on in the capstone as well. So, so take it away, Katie.
Thank you, Mark. In the absence of our 2 capstone instructors, I'll be happy to kind of touch a little bit on that, because I know that is a question that lots of folks have. What is the capstone? There tends to be some anxiety about what the project is or what that might look like. So the capstone falls obviously at the end of all of our program tracks. In our daytime MBA program, that's a 2-quarter-long experience, which is kind of a traditional course and then a consulting project. In our evening and weekend programs, we do actually distill that down to 1 class, where students are able to bring projects from their place of work, perhaps a side project or something that they have been dreaming of doing. And we allow them to kind of bring those projects to the table and then under the guidance of the two instructors, they work on that throughout the quarter. It is something that's really special and unique to our program. And perhaps we'll have to have a special session for them to kind of come talk about that at some point. As far as the work that I do on behalf of the MBA program, there's some important things that I'd like to really highlight, three in particular, that I would want anybody here tonight to know. So our program actually has three different tracks. Our evening and our weekend programs are very similar. They're designed for working professionals. One is offered in Everett, one in Bellingham, the evening in Bellingham, the weekend in Everett. And then we have a kind of what we think of as a traditional daytime program, and that's our full-time MBA program in Bellingham. It's 5 quarters, 14 months, and it's really for folks who have the ability to be a full-time student and then everything else part-time. So lots of those folks do work either in graduate or teaching assistantships, internships, other work or employment that they may have had even prior coming to the MBA program. But we do really try to address kind of the different needs of different types of MBAs that tend to find our program. So hopefully one of those could be of interest to some of you joining tonight. Another thing I'd like to highlight, or number 2 in my case, is our recent shift to a hybrid MBA program in Everett. That program has been around for about 12 years. We have almost all the same faculty that teach in Bellingham that come down to teach in Everett. And up until now, basically, that program has been in person on Fridays and Saturdays, 5 weekends per quarter. So it's essentially every other weekend. And starting in June this year, which is a cohort we're currently recruiting for, with the help of our faculty and lessons learned from COVID, we're actually shifting to a hybrid delivery of that program. And what that looks like for our students is they will actually not have to attend class in person on Fridays. The hours they would have typically spent on the campus in Everett will be delivered in a combination of asynchronous and synchronous learning. So we will expect our students to kind of tune in to an online session on Friday evenings. And then our Saturday sessions will actually remain in person. So our students and faculty really do like that in-person contact, the exchange of ideas that happens in person. But again, just kind of taking the best of what we've learned over the last few years and marrying that with our long history of in-person learning. We hope that will really expand the opportunity for people to access our program, folks that maybe don't or can't reliably take that Friday afternoon off every other week. So just a really exciting change for us, and in a lot of ways doesn't feel new because we were teaching online for the past 3 years in some way, shape, or form. So our faculty are really experienced. A lot of our folks now have home offices and places where they can do that work to attend class remotely. And then finally, I would be remiss if I didn't mention our upcoming application deadline. On May 1st, 2023, that's the deadline for our upcoming weekend MBA cohort, which will start in late June of 2023, and also our daytime program, which does not start until the fall. I'm really on hand, as well as some of my colleagues, to support folks who would like to learn more about that, have an admissions call with me. I can do that on Zoom or in person on Teams. I'm also happy to come to Everett, and I do that once in a while as well, if that's convenient for people. So working towards those deadlines, certainly it is a painful call in July once the cohort is already underway, because our groups really do, for the most part, begin together and end together. So we'd like to drive people towards finishing those applications by May 1st and reaching out for any support or help they need along the way. So those are my 3 big things for tonight. And again, we do a lot of one-on-one advising sessions. So certainly we wouldn't expect people to ask their kind of personal questions here, but happy to follow up with any of you if you'd like to discuss any of this more. Thanks, Mark.
Great. Thank you so much. So a couple wrap-up things, and then we'll let you go. that first off, I just want to say that it was great hearing all the other professors talk, and what I was hearing was how much sort of overlap there is in a good way between the different topics, and I think that really goes to show, how sort of learning in an MBA environment in this sort of cohort-based thing, everything is sort of builds off of each other. Something else I want to share with everyone that's considering is, and Katie touched on this, is just how well experienced our MBA faculty is. We've been teaching in the MBA program for a long time. We've got a lot of years of collective experience, and the reason I'm a professor is because of my MBA experience, and how and the connections that I made with my classmates a long time ago are still really important connections today. And that sort of leads to my next thing, which is that this is part one of a two-part webinar series. Part one is today, why get an MBA, meet the team. And part two is why get an MBA, meet the alumni. And so on Wednesday, March 15th, we will be, we'll have a similar setup where we're going to have a bunch of our recent alumni, primarily focused on the Everett program, but to talk about their experience and what they got out of it, and why they recommend people go back to school and get an MBA, and what the process was like, both from a learning and then from a lifestyle. It's a pretty daunting thing, but I think everyone that graduates from our programs is really glad that they did it. But then of course the interesting thing is, as Katie said, we do have this new setup, which none of these students will have done, and that's going to be this hybrid model with the sort of the Friday online, Saturday in person, which I think is literally the best of both worlds. I think it's going to be a really, really wonderful change that will make the MBA program that much stronger. All right, so on that note, I just want to thank everyone from our amazing team and for taking part today. And from all of us at Western Washington University and the MBA program, we want to thank you for joining us today. Oh, there is a question in the chat. Great. Let me see that. I'm not looking at the big one. What do we got? We got
Mark, this is Katie. I can read the question.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So the question is work experience required for the WWU MBA?
Oh, there you go. So I will answer that. So it depends on the track, is what I would say. We first of all, we're always looking more for reasons to accept people, not reasons to exclude people. Generally speaking, our daytime program has quite a few students who have gone straight from undergrad into the daytime MBA program, and like Katie said, that cohort is starting again in September. The next cohort, our evening, which is our weekend, which is starting this June, and then our weekend, which starts this June in Everett, and then the following June in Bellingham, our evening program. Those are more geared towards people with work experience. Great question. There was a couple of questions that were sent in before. One was, is an MBA good for someone who's interested in project management? And I would say the answer to that is yes. Probably for a couple of reasons. Number one, I know a lot of people that have done it and then have gone into project management. So there's that. And then number two, just think about, like, so much of what of project management is sort of understanding the sort of cross-functional synergies. And what better way to sort of be able to think cross-functionally than get an MBA, so that you can speak the language of finance with the finance team, speak the language of accounting with the accounting team, and all the different people. So that's a really good thing. And then another question that we got earlier was, do we have any fully online options? And the short answer to that is no. We have the hybrid thing that's starting right now in June in Everett, but this actually kind of gets back to what I was talking about when I was talking about marketing strategy. I think as Katie talked, we were online for a while, and we did it, and we did a good job of it. But one of the things that we also knew as a program was the value for the students, the value for the cohort, the individual students, the value for the collective students, the value for us as instructors is increased in with as much face-to-face as possible. So that's something that we've been focusing on, is that. So any other questions? Looking at the Q&A. Let me close this. Like I said, we want to thank the Alumni Association for their partnership. They always help do a great job. Janine does a great job getting the sort of the back end of all this stuff working. So that was great. And so we will be, we've recorded this. We will be sending out a recording to you that are attending and those who have registered. And we'll also be using this as part of our sort of recruiting efforts for moving forward. So thank you for taking the time to listen to us today. If you have any further questions, please reach out to me. I'm mark.staten@wwu.edu. I'm also pretty easily found on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to further engage with you and help you in your decision-making process for getting an MBA. Thank you very much. Talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.